Welcome back to the Countdown with Dean Kirk. Back in the late summer of 1987, August 29th, 1987. And coming up, we're in the top 10 now. Coming up, Levert, the Fat Boys, Alexander O'Neill. We're going to get down on some jams. Grateful Dead, too. Now, that's a stunning dynamic of the 80s. The Grateful Dead making a massive comeback in the 80s. The so-called synthetic decade. A lot of the critics, all the music in the 80s is so synthetic. And yeah, in the synthetic decade, a group like the Grateful Dead make an amazing comeback into the top 10. I know what you're saying. Of course, Dean, it's a synthetic decade. That's why the Grateful Dead made such a comeback, because it's such an organic, because they're such an organic sounding band. I know that. Dadgummit. I talked myself right into a trap. I'm not even supposed to talk about the Grateful Dead. How did we get into the Grateful Dead? And the 80s being, one artist who was definitely not synthetic was Prince. And he is at number 9 with Sheena Easton. You Got to Look. Sheila E. blazing away on the percussions in the video. One of Prince's early proteges, Sheila E., he wrote some songs for her, including The Glamorous Life. And boy, that was another Night Tracks memory back in the summer of 1984. But let's jump it up 3 years to 1987. Prince, You Got to Look. Some people consider Prince a genius. I've heard it. I've had people come up and say, man, Prince is a genius. And I read on the YouTube comments. All I'm going to say about that is this. He had his moments. Oh, goodness. I remember back in the summer of 1985 when I was watching the video to Raspberry Beret on Night Tracks. I marveled at it. The psychedelic underpinnings of the song, of the video, sort of a nod at Sgt. Pepper, the way the video was colored and everything, and the way Prince deftly strung together rhymes and phrases. He made it look easy. It's like bang, 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 just coming up with these great rhymes. Blazing away on that guitar, too. And Let's Get Crazy, I believe was the name of the record, off of Purple Rain. He was a guitar god when that moment when he did that blazing guitar solo. The guy could do rock, 60s, influenced by 60s and 70s rock, maybe a little bit of 50s, maybe a little bit of Chuck Berry, Jimi Hendrix thrown in for good measure, 60s, 70s R&B, anywhere. You talk about the Shy-Lights, Stylistics. He covered a song by the Stylistics, by the way, back in 96. And Sly and the Family Stone, the Funkmeister. You'd be a Funkmeister like George Clinton, Parliament. But see, Collins, Funkadelic, One Nation Under the Groove, One Nation Under Prince, Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen, Madonna, back in the 80s. The only genre he seemed uncomfortable with, I noticed, was hip-hop. He came out with a hip-hop record in 1993, I do remember. It was called My Name is Prince. BET ran that video. Remember watching the video on the Video Soul on BET, hosted by Donnie Simpson. Remember that back in the day. But outside of hip hop, there's no doubt about it. He was incredibly versatile, seemingly open-minded. Another amazing dynamic. It's a footnote now. Not too many people remember this except for maybe the music historians. And, of course, the music nerds like me. The amazing evolution of Sheena Easton from a wholesome pop princess to a pop vixen. Changing her hair, her outfits. I remember Morning Train, when she came out with Morning Train in 1980. And Morning Train, it was an old-fashioned sounding record. It's a record that sounded like the themes going back to the 40s, 30s, 40s, early 50s, pre-60s. Old-fashioned. Then she came out with something more modern, no pun intended, the song called Modern Girl, and then For Your Eyes Only, which I believe was from a James Bond movie. That went to number 1. But she was dissatisfied with being an adult pop artist. She wanted to appeal. She wanted a younger sound, a more rhythmic sound, more of an edgier sound. She just didn't want to be a goody two shoes. And I do remember back in early 1981, I saw a picture of her in Billboard. She was standing behind a desk table, standing ramrod straight like a queen, like a princess. Very regal, distinguished, maybe a little pompous. Quite lovely though, but still pompous. And then she's doing Sugar Walls and she's going all out, and you got to look. There was the first glimmer of the new Sheena Easten coming out was a Telephone back in 1983, the upbeat, and I love the way she hits the highs in those vocals when she did Telephone in 1983. There was a lot of that, a lot of emotion which she pitched into that record. And then there was Strut, and that's when she blew right out of her shell. That she became defiant, rebellious, and just a whole different look. And people are saying, wow, check out the new Sheena Easten. Now, I'm talking about her public persona. I'm not talking about in real life. Just a public persona. But guess who wrote Strut? You won't believe it. I didn't believe it. I was amazed at who actually wrote the song Strut, which was kind of, well, not graphic or anything like that, but certainly a very aggressive record. The song was written by Charlie Dore. Yes, the Charlie Dore. The Charlie Dore who did Pilot of the Airways, a mainstream pop record. Kind of imaginative title, though, imaginative lyrics, but still very mainstream. 360 degree turn from Strut. Charlie Dore, she wrote that record along with Julian Littman. And the song Strut went to number 7 on Billboard's Hot 100. Then Prince came into the picture. He wrote Sugar Walls, Sheena Easten. He gave it to Sheena Easten. Sheena Easten, she covered it. And he was pretty impressed with the way she covered it. And he asked her to sing on You Got the Look, but as a background vocalist. But when Prince was watching her singing her parts, and You Got the Look, he had a change of mind. He thought, wait a minute, let's put her in the forefront. Let's make this into a duet. So he and Sheena Easten, they got together and they rearranged the song. It became a duet, You Got the Look. Prince also wrote a couple other songs for Sheena Easten from the album The Lover and Me. He wrote the song 101 in Cool Love. He did it under the name called Joey Coco, C-O-C-O. Memorable line. One of the memorable lines of the 80s. I got to share it with you. The line just stuck in my head. Quote, here we are, folks, the dream we all dream of. Boy versus girl and the World Series of Love, quote unquote. And then Sheena Easten goes, oh, please, you got this banter between the two. And this thing kind of leads to a consummation of sorts. And, well, not in real life. It's a song, just a song. And that's all I got to say about it. I'm done. Prince, You Got the Look. It's at number 9 on this fantasy playlist, August 29th, 1987.